Hi everybody, Mrs. Dominic here. I'm back again with you. We're going to work some more on our 1-point perspective buildings. I'm going to go ahead and continue to work on my round piece of paper, though I am working on the rectangular one too. To be successful at today's portion of the project, you are going to need a ruler, an eraser, a pencil, and just like last time, and then the addition of post-it notes. Oh, and a Sharpie. Sharpie, pencil, eraser, ruler, post-it notes. All right. Today's buildings are a little bit different than last week's buildings because they are a corner building. They are buildings that show two sides and then the edge where they meet. So all of our old buildings should only show one face of the building, just one side with windows. Today's are going to be two sides with windows. Okay, these ones I actually find a little bit easier, but because you draw them in the opposite order that you drew the front facing ones, that's why we're doing them today instead of trying to do them all at once. Okay, so first thing, we're going to draw the side where the corner where the two sides of the building meet up, that like straight line in between the two sides. That is what we're going to draw first. That is what is going to be going to the dot. So I'm going in between two front-facing buildings, wherever you have a gap. And I'm just going to line my ruler up with the dot, send it through that gap, and strike a light line. Okay. Already, because of the plus in the middle of the paper, it looks like a corner-facing building is there. Okay. You don't have to necessarily, I would not have your building go all the way up to the dot. You don't have to necessarily draw all of the sides to the building. You can just take your post-it note, line it up, or whatever you got, line it up with the vertical and the horizontal line in the middle of your page. And then what I like to do is just very carefully and slowly, keeping it parallel to the two outside lines, just drag the corner of my post-it note down. Once I've done that and I'm certain that these lines are perpendicular, I'm going to draw a couple of roof lines. Okay, that's it. Now, these two roof lines have ends to them. That means that we need to draw two more outside sides. To do that, I'm going to use my ruler, just like we did last time. Put a pencil on the end of the roof, butt the ruler up to the pencil, line it up with the dot in the middle, strike a line all the way down to the side. There's one face of the building. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Pencil on the end of the roof, ruler to pencil, pivot to the dot, strike the line out to the end. This is my two-sided building. Okay. Rotate again. I need 3 buildings like this. It's a good idea to not put one in every corner, to have one corner that's empty, just so that you've got a little bit more sky. If you really like these corner buildings and you want to put in a 4th one, go right ahead. That's not a problem. But it's one of those things where a little empty space can be good. This paper is going to get really confusing when we start putting all of the windows on it. So having a building that having a little empty space to just be blank sky is a nice contrast to the busy windowed buildings. All right, anyway, back to this building. This building is in a really tight corner, and I don't want it to be like so smashed in there that the sides of the buildings are bumping up against one another. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the roof on this building and I'm going to go all the way over and have it touch the two buildings on either side. This one is It is a full corner, right? So this building is so wide on both sides that it goes behind this building and behind this one. If I were to draw the outsides of this building, the edges, it would end up here. And if we had not Sharpied the front-facing buildings, I could have erased on this side, and then this corner building would have been in front of the front-facing building, but it doesn't much matter. We have Sharpied, so we are going to leave it this way. So this is a little bit of a shortcut if you want to do this. Again, it gets rid of a lot of your sky opportunity. Let's see, which one of these two is bigger? This side's bigger. So I'm going to put my last building here. Strike line. Take the corner, line it up with the vertical and the horizontal. Scooch it down, keeping those sides straight. That's the hardest part, is keeping the sides straight. I want this corner building to be about this tall. Ooh, that one's not very straight, is it? Let's do it here, I guess. Okay, here's my building. 2 roofs. Every year I have kids who are like, oh, she just made an arrow. Do you guys see the arrow? Look at the dot, right? They're like, oh, I can do that. And they just like draw a line and then put any old arrow on there and then use the ruler for the roof. And what ends up happening is they end up with these little teeny tiny skinny buildings, and they're like, why doesn't my building look square? Well, it doesn't look square because your roof isn't at 90 degrees, and it like really ruins their perspective. So please make sure that you do that, that you use that 90 degrees, you trace that thing on the roof. Don't just put any old angle on there. Okay, so there's our 3 buildings. You, at this point, if you're doing this circle, can go ahead and Sharpie these. Just don't Sharpie any of these lines that go up into the sky. You can erase the plus at this point. You can erase everything except for the dot. You need to still leave the dot. The dot we're going to use, the vanishing point we're going to use for decorating these buildings next week. But you can erase all this extra stuff in the sky and then just Sharpie your buildings so that you have buildings all the way going around your square. Okay? If you are one of my friends, once you do that, once you Sharpie this whole thing, then you can take a photograph of it and turn it in. There will be a turn in place for this week since we've done both front facing and corner facing. There wasn't one last week, so if you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't turn it in, that's okay. There wasn't a spot to turn it in. This week there is. I'm just going to grade all of it all at once, okay? But that's it for today. If you are one of my friends who doesn't have a corner guy to use, but you do have this much because you put your plus in your paper and whatever, I'm going to show you how to do this without a post-it note or without a square that you can move around. Okay, it's very similar. It's a little bit more tricky, but it is very similar. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to go from the dot to the corner, draw that diagonal line. Same as I did before, right? Again, doesn't have to be perfect. The next thing I'm going to do is create a vertical line, a perfectly vertical line. And this is going to be one side of my roof. So I'm taking my ruler, I'm taking the short end of this ruler, and I'm putting it on the very bottom edge of the page. And I'm going to scoot it over until it's lined up with wherever I want the one roof to be. So this one roof I'm just going to make here. And you just make a vertical line. Then you rotate your ruler. Make sure that this time the short end is lined up with the opposite side of the page, right? the short end of the page so that we know that it's 90 degrees and it's parallel. Line it up with wherever you ended the other side of the roof. Ooh. And draw the roof out the other way, right? There's your arrow. There's your 90 degrees. The roof line is perfectly horizontal and perfectly vertical. Then you do what the round piece of paper people did, or the Post-it note people did. You put your pencil on the end of the roof, ruler to the pencil, go from the dot to the edge of the page. Same thing over here. End of the roof to the dot to the end of the page. Okay? Same thing. You do that in 3 corners. And then when you are done, you're going to erase all these lines through the sky, leaving the dot, Sharpie your 3 buildings, and then you are done as well. Okay? That's it for today. Draw your 3 corner buildings, Sharpie them, make sure those roofs are at 90 degrees, make a perfect L or T or whatever, however you want to think about it. But do your 3 buildings, Sharpie, be done. Okay? Good luck. I'm here if you need me. And I will see you next time. Bye.